Hello and welcome to part one of this 10-part series on CAGED chords and arpeggios. So the CAGED system is a brilliant way of learning your chords and scales and arpeggios up the neck and kind of linking them together and making sense of it all. So it's a really excellent system that I thoroughly recommend you learn and just makes sense of everything. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to look at CAGED major chords and arpeggios. And what we're going to play it in the key of D major. And firstly, we're going to play the D major chord in the C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape and D shape. So that spells the word CAGED, okay? So the first thing we do, our C shape is based on a normal C chord. Okay, so it's the one that you're kind of familiar with. Third finger, third fret A, middle finger, second fret D, open G, first fret B, open E. Now, this chord can be moved up the neck, okay? So this will become our C shape major chord. So what we're going to do, we need to basically close off the open G and the open E strings, okay? Otherwise it'll sound dodgy when it's moved up the neck. So what I'll do is play that with your little third middle finger, and you're imagining, again, always get my pupils to visualize the 0 fret, okay? So it helps with moving these kind of chord shapes up the neck. So this is the C shape, and that's the note C. I'm just going to move that up from C, C sharp to D. So now we've got a D major chord in the C shape. Okay, so it does take a bit of time to get used to this, but this stuff is really, really useful. So this is that's the D major in the C shape. Okay, now we're going to take the same A shape. And the idea with that C shape creates all these different types of chords, and you will use them all from time to time. There's lots of cool ways of taking those chords and that you've used in songs and things like that. Okay, so now I use the A major chord. I typically play it like that. First finger, second fret D, middle finger, second fret G, third finger, second fret B. You've got the open A and the E strings. Now you're going to play that with your third finger, so just bar those three. Visualize barring the 0 fret, then move that up. You've got loads of this, a classic kind of A shape major bar chord. So now what we're going to do, your C and your A shape start from the same root note. It's a good thing to remember this. So this is D major in the A shape. Okay, so far we've done C major, sorry, D major C shape, D major A shape. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to do the G shape. So pick your original excellent open G chord, middle finger, third fret low E, first finger, second fret A, third finger, third fret high E. Now we're going to play it by second, third and fourth, again visualizing closing off the open D, G and B strings. Okay, and now you're going to find your root note is the first note you play. So that was the G there. So now we're going to move that. So the D, okay? So that's now D major in the G shape. Not the best of chords, but great for mapping out the neck. For example, like bands like Rolling Stones use a partial G shape. So you can use it from time to time, and it's that kind of broken G shape, as I would call it. Sounds really cool. So you will use it, again, really useful for starting to arpeggios, and later on in another series we'll probably do it with the major pentatonic. Okay, so that's D major in the G shape, and then I'm going to do the same thing now with our standard open E chord. And now I'm going to play that with our second, third and fourth fingers to allow us to close off these open strings. Then move that up the neck. And now we're playing a D major in the E shape. So it's the same root note as the G shape. The G shape goes backwards, E shape goes forwards. It's the same with this kind of like C shape goes backwards, the root note's there, A shape goes forwards, okay? And then finally we've got a D shape. For the purpose of the arpeggio though, I'm going to do it up here rather than down here. So take your normal D chord, first, second and third fingers, but then again to visualize the root note is on the D string. You're going to move that all the way up, so your first finger's on the 12th fret, so it's an octave higher than a standard D chord. And that's a D major in the D shape. Okay, so what we've got to recap, we've taken our C, A, G, E and D open chords and then we've moved them up the neck. So it means you can move them and play it with any different root note, okay? So we've done C shape, which turned into D major. We took our A shape, which turned into D major, A shape. And then we took G major, which then turned into D major. And then E major, which turned into D major. And then D major, which we're going to stay the same, but for the purpose of the arpeggio, we're going to play it out there. Okay, cool. So that's the kind of the foundation of the kind of caged understanding that how the chords move up the neck. So now what we can do, so I'll put the C shape arpeggio up on the screen. So what I've done here, so it might look a bit complicated, but I will simplify it for you. So the idea is that the numbers in there are the fingers that I will suggest for you to use. Okay, so you don't have to use. There's not like a set way of doing it. For me, these seem to work the best. The R's are the root notes. So if we're playing in the key of D major, the root note, a chord of the D major chord, those R's will be the note D. And the idea is these are all movable. So, okay, don't belong to any key. You can do these shapes anywhere up the neck. So what we're going to do is we're going to play our D major C shape. Okay, now all the green dots and lines are, you can see that's where your chord is. Okay, the idea is you can overlay this chord with the arpeggio shape. Okay, so you kind of have to practice the chord to make sure the fingering, because the fingering on these diagrams are the ones you're going to use to play the arpeggio. Okay, so the arpeggio, basically you're playing all the notes within that make up this particular chord. So a major chord is made up of a root note, okay, a major third, which you can see here below the diagrams. It shows you where these different intervals turn up, and then a perfect fifth. Okay, so it'd be worth kind of, if you're not familiar with intervals, just check out understanding of root note. So root note is your key note. So D major is the note D. Major third, in this particular instance, is an F sharp, which is 2 tones above the root note, and then a perfect fifth, which is 3.5 tones. Okay, so what's happening? We're playing in the key of D major. The only notes we're going to play are D, F sharp, and A. Okay, so below those diagrams, you can see. Okay, you got the first note here is it says 3, which means the F sharp, and then it goes to the A, which is a perfect fifth, which is your perfect fifth note, and then you're going to use your little finger on the root note, so that's 5th fret, A string, and then go to the F sharp, 4th fret, D string, okay, and then you've got your first finger, 2nd fret of the G, then middle finger, 3rd fret of the B, first finger, 1st fret of the, 2nd fret of the high E, and little finger, 5th fret of the high E, and you're going to come back down. So 5 on the E, 2 on the E, middle finger, 3rd fret of the B, first finger, 2nd fret of the G, 3rd finger, 4th fret of the D, little finger, 5th fret of the A, 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the low E string, and that's the idea is you can see I'm playing one note after the other. So I'm starting on that low E string, so I'm going from left to right, and you can see the strings are going the vertical lines, the frets are the boxes. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And again, you can see the intervals. So it's really good before you start working out these arpeggios to work out the notes. So we're doing D major, and it's a root note, a major third, which is 2 tones in size. Okay, so D to E is 1 tone, E to F sharp is 2, and then you've got perfect fifth, which is 3.5 tones. So F sharp to G sharp is 1 tone, G sharp to A is a semitone, so those 1.5 tones plus 2 equals 3.5. Okay, so basic kind of major triad. Okay, and again you can see where those intervals occur in this arpeggio, and the idea, the benefits of arpeggios really help you to come up with really cool solo ideas. Also helps you to kind of if any chords, if you're playing a chord progression, the chords outside the key, it allows you to solo in an arpeggio to really suit the chord that you're playing over. There's lots of benefits. So it does take a bit of time to practice them, but you know, persevere, and you really will find the benefits of learning arpeggios and this CAGED kind of system. Okay, so I'll go through that C shape. We're doing the D major arpeggio in the C shape. Okay, and it's good to refer to it as this just to get your head around it. So, and then again, you can see the intervals here: 3, 5, root, third, fifth. On the below the diagram, root, third, fifth. So you're playing all the notes that make up that chord in this particular area of the neck. Again, I would do alternate picking as well: down, up, 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 and end on the root notes. You see where the R's are there. Okay, and again, there's lots of cool things. You can slide into various things, pull-offs, you know, sweep picking. There's loads of cool stuff you can do here, and it just gives you some other shapes to work with rather than just your, you know, pentatonic and major scale. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take our D major A shape. Again, double check the fingers I'm suggesting. You don't have to use these, but they're the ones I'd recommend. Again, so those green lines there just show you where the chord is. The numbers, though, represent what fingers you used for the arpeggio. Okay, so here you're going to start with your middle finger, 5th fret of the low E, and obviously you can see where the arpeggios start in relation to the root notes. It's worth bearing that in mind. So you kind of just, again, it's all about mapping out the neck. So middle finger, 5th fret low E, 3rd finger A, 1st finger, 4th fret D, and then I'm using my 3rd finger to kind of roll over the 7th fret of the D, G and B strings, 1st finger, 5th fret E, and then back down. So really nice sound here. Oops. My advice would be to play the chord, then do the arpeggio, because it kind of helps you reinforce it. Play the chord, play the arpeggio, and then finish off with the chords. It just helps to link everything together. Okay, so that's the A shape. So there we started on the perfect 5th note, whereas the C shape we started on the major 3rd. So it's always good to sort of see how, you know, your chords and where the arpeggio starts in relation to where the chord is. Okay, so now we're going to do the G shape. So again, D major, G shape arpeggio. Again, check the where the root notes are. It's really useful in each shape. So I put R's in there. Okay, so here we're going to use a little finger, 3rd finger. So 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, 10, 10, 10, 9. Oh, 7, not 9. So 10, 9, 7, 7, 7, 10, 10, 10, 7, 7, 7, 9, 10. Okay, and again, you know, it's good to play the chord, double check where the root notes are. Lots of useful stuff here, because you'll be learning all your notes across the neck as well with all these, especially on the E, the A and the D strings, where most of your chords start from. So very useful stuff. And now we're going to do the D major E shape. Okay, so this one here, again, same root note as your G shape. We'll start with the middle finger here, 1st finger, so middle finger 10th fret low E, 1st finger 9th fret A, 3rd finger 12th fret A, then the little finger 12th fret D, middle finger 11th fret G, partially kind of bar this bit, 10, 10. Oops. So it's really good, good for little runs. You know, incorporation with the major scale and things like that, just different patterns, lots of different ideas there. Again, double check the chord, play the arpeggio, making sure you're getting the right fingers. I like this idea of kind of, if you're playing a broken E shape, to use those fingers there. That's my personal preference. Okay, and now we're going to do the D shape. Okay, because of the note F sharp, we can't really fit it in down here. You can play some of the shape, but it's best to play up here. So here, we're going to start with our major third, little finger, then middle finger on the 12th fret, A, third finger, 12th fret D, first finger, 11th fret G, third finger, 14th fret G, little finger, 15th fret B, third finger, 14th fret E, back down. They're also, because you're using a lot of your different fingers here, really good for a warm-up exercise as well. You know, it's lots of good stuff. You might not always use these fingers depending on what sort of thing you're going for in your solo. You know, you're not going to use it, but this is a good way of being consistent when you're learning the shapes. Okay, so that's what we've done there. We've done D major. We've just gone through the chords. Think, right, major chord, that's our open shape. How do we move that up the neck? And then find the root note that you're looking for. D major there, D major A shape, G major, D major G shape, D major E shape, D major D shape, and then do the arpeggios. Okay, let's do this now with a different root note. So we'll do it in the key of, say, B major, okay? So the first thing you want to do is identify where the first B major chord is, okay? So what you want to do here is think, okay, all these chords, their root notes are either on the E, the A, or the D string, okay? So in order to identify the first B, you've got to work out where the first B note is, okay? So you need to understand the notes of especially for the E, the A, and the D strings, okay? So the first B happens to be here. Now we can't really fit the kind of C shape arpeggio in the start of the neck just because it will just go beyond the fretboard. Okay, so that means it's our A shape. This will take a bit of time to get used to how to work out, you know, because the idea in this CAGED system allows you to play all over the neck, not just from your first shape that you're comfortable with. It allows you to kind of really, right, okay, I'm in B major. I can go through all these chords and know my way around the neck. So B major, be the A shape, and then you can just go through your arpeggios. Again, what I'll also be doing is put this in Guitar Pro. So if you'd like to get any of the files here with this PDF or all these shapes that you can see pop up on the screen, they'll be available from Jsmusicschool.co.uk. So you can get them Guitar Pro file and this document, or you could even get it in, if you don't have Guitar Pro, you can get Guitar Tab PDF format as well as this kind of PDF of all the shapes. Okay, so you'll find this really useful. So that's the A shape, and then the idea is you just cycle through the letters in the word CAGED. So after A, you've got G. Okay, so that's the G shape, and then we've got the E shape. Okay, and then you've got the D shape. Okay, you don't have to use these voicings. And then you've got the C shape. I mean, you don't have to use the exact fingering I'm using here. So what I've done there is I've played, you know, a lot of the neck. Again, you can keep, you know, carry on down there as well. So I've done the A shape, G shape, E shape, D shape, and C shape. That allows you also to kind of, you know, flip around the fretboards. You know, if you're in here, and then you can flip to different parts of the neck because you're kind of visualizing, every time you're playing these, you're kind of visualizing those chords as kind of marker posts, okay? So yeah, have a play around with that. Hope you enjoyed the video. So we'll be going through lots more of these in the next few weeks, which will be great. So yeah, practice that in lots of different keys, and hopefully you find that useful. Any comments or suggestions, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications if you haven't already. Many thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers, bye.